welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham, and it's Leicester this weekend after one loss, one draw, and no shots on target. Hopefully we can put that right against Leicester and get ourselves back in the top four race. Got Leicester and Spurs fans, and based in the chat with the amount of abuse that Spurs fans were getting, you will notice it's Spurs 3, Leicester 2 on this podcast, which is very apt considering what happened earlier in the season. But let me get you through the guests. Sean from Spurs Talk Show. How you doing, buddy?
Good, mate. Yeah, good. Thank you for inviting me on. It's nice to make a debut on your channel.
Pleasure to have all of you on. Tommy, you'll know, he's been on loads of times before. How you doing, Tommy?
Good, man. Good. I'm confident we can get a shot on target this weekend. I'm confident.
Well, if we can't, you can't have 3 games in a row. And then the Leicester fans, Chris, who's been on here before. How you doing, Chris?
How do you, mate? I'm good. How are you? And I'm confident you'll have a shot on target as well.
And also Brad. How you doing, Brad?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be on there. And like Chris, I'm also confident you'll have a shot on target and probably score goals. If you play Kane, it's a guarantee. So
yeah.
We'll get on to him later. Thanks to all 4 of these guys for coming on. Really appreciate it. Welcome anytime. Thanks to everybody for watching. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. Really helps the channel. Also hit that notification bell. You'll get notified when we're about to go live. And also, everyone here has a YouTube channel as well. So you'll find that in the description. But at the end, they'll let you know where they can find that. So let's crack on. So, Sean, I'll start with you with the Spurs front. Are we back in the... Well, we're still in the top 4 race, but we've kind of lost ground a little bit. Is this imperative that we win this game, or if Arsenal lose and we lose, is it not a huge deal? Or I mean, for you, do we have to win this game to get back in that top 4 race?
I personally still think there'll be more twists and turns left that will surprise to the upside and the downside for both Tottenham and Arsenal before the season's out. So I would say that if we don't win, it's hanging by a thread. But I still think there'll be things that will happen. Like I think Arsenal are going to have a real problem against Newcastle. I think they could have a real problem against Everton last game of the season. Essentially, what I just want us to be still in it mathematically by the time the North London derby comes around. And then obviously we're going to have to win there. And then if that happens and you're still winning it in the last 2 games of the season, then I think Spurs will have the upper hand. But yeah, to be honest, like I say, 3 points are not a must, but they're as close to being a must as possible. If we don't win, I'm going to be really, really fearful of our chances.
Yeah, and Tommy, for you, obviously 2 pretty terrible games. Is this a chance to really bounce back and against a team that we'll talk about Kane later on, who historically Kane scores against? Slightly annoying as well with Chelsea, how they dropped points yesterday. If we'd have beaten both Brighton and Brentford, we'd be 3 points behind them, same games, and then it's a top 3 race as well. So we've completely lost ground on there. But I mean, this is a chance to stop the rot of those terrible, and like we were mentioning backstage, getting a shot on target in a game for once. But is this imperative for you? I'm going to take the banner off because it's covering your face.
If I take my Spurs hat off, I'm not actually wearing a hat today for the first time in about 2 months. But if I was to take my Spurs hat off and look at the table, look at the top 4 race, you got to look at it. And the game after Leicester, we got Liverpool away. And Liverpool are fighting for the title. So that's, if it was at home, it'd be a slightly different matter. But at Anfield,
I'm strangely confident for the Anfield game. I don't know why,
Same.
but then,
That's very strange. That's very strange then. But
I've been called worse, so I'll take that.
But I will say, I didn't say you're strange. I said, your prediction's strange. So basically, yeah, I think that's going to be tricky. We drew against Liverpool earlier on in the season, but it's at home, Anfield. They're ridiculous at Anfield. So yeah, it's going to be if we don't win against Leicester, it's going to be very, very difficult. But as I've said for the last 6 weeks, the North London derby. It's all about the North London derby. Whoever wins that game for me is going to finish above the other. So if it's a draw, it's still it could go down to the wire. And even if we win, it will go down to the wire. But I do believe if we win the North London derby, we will get 4. So, there's a lot riding on it. And this game on Sunday is huge, absolutely huge. And am I correct? Is Vardy back? Is Vardy back?
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
He usually scores against us as well. So Kane usually scores against Leicester. Vardy usually scores against us. But we'll talk about him a bit later. And Chris, for Leicester, you're obviously in the Conference League. I think it was a semi-final yesterday. Was it the first leg?
It was first leg, yeah.
And you're banging that tie. Away goals have been scrapped, so it's level pegging still. So for Leicester, I mean, I'm assuming the Conference League is your focus, being that you're 10th, is it, in the league? But obviously you want to do as well as you can. There's money involved with where you finish, and it goes up quite dramatically even for one place. But for you, what's your focus, the Premier League or the Conference League at the moment?
As a fan, I obviously want to win every game. That goes without saying. But you talk about Vardy coming back. We're going to see a lot of changes for this game, and I think that will show where Brendan's thoughts are going. We've had a bit of a bad run recently. We lost to Newcastle. We drew with Everton. We had a game like you've just had against Villa, and those 3 games have made the chance of us getting European football like that 7th place, which was a thin chance, but we could have been done if everything had gone our way. That's out the window now. So if we want to be in Europe next season, we've got to win the Conference League. And whilst I'm not necessarily, I'm glad we're in it, but I don't think we should, because we dropped out of the Europa League, and I'm never happy with clubs that have fallen out of the league or the competition above drop into the one below. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be. We've got to go for, and the fact that we're going to have, if we win it, we'll be the first name on that trophy.
That's what we were hoping for earlier in the season, but obviously that's not to be. But yeah, it'll be a huge feather in the cap for whoever wins that, because it's the first team who's ever won it. But
do you think that Arsenal have done well this season? They've come back because they've not had sort of European football to worry about. You sort of have come, in a way, a little bit better since you've not had European football. It's made it more of a level playing field, because you're both just concentrating now on that 4th or even 3rd place.
Yeah, well, Conte said it's like cup finals for us, which we don't do well in them, so he should have said semis or quarters. But Brad, in terms of the Conference League, you're obviously taking that seriously against the Roma team, who are going to be tough on Thursday. We've had extra days off. Do you think that will take any effect in the game? Because we played West Ham just after they'd won their quarter-final, and they were a shadow of themselves in that game, and it was fairly easy for us in the end. So do you think that will be the case, or do you think Brendan will completely change it and have completely fresh players, and it will be fresh players versus fresh players?
Well, I think it will be not a complete rotation. He has an obsession with running Maddison, Yuri, and Dewsbury Hall into the ground, it seems. So I'm hoping at least 2 of them can take a rest for and be fit and fresh for Thursday in the second leg in Italy, because you maybe could forgive Dewsbury Hall thinking he's got an engine, being a younger player. Not say that Maddison and Yuri aren't young, but he's fresh onto the scene. He's not been playing for the last 2 or 3 seasons. This is his first season, so he seems to be bags of energy. But it's actually, I said this to Chris on our post-match afterwards, it's actually kind of, we're spoiled for choice at the moment, because we spent so long in the season throwing whoever can stick to the starting 11 and not walk out there with some form of injury. It's been a blessing. So we're actually richly able to actually rotate a squad for the last couple of games. So I imagine a bit of a change to the back line. Castagne news is less concerning, because apparently he lost his vision for a couple of minutes, and with what happened at the Euros, he didn't want to risk. So whether he'll get a chance to feature again, because obviously he only played 10-15 minutes last night because of that. So yeah, I can imagine a change, but it's nice to know that we're making a change that will be like for like in terms of personnel and what they've been able to do for us this season. We're not scraping the barrel and putting out a youngster who's not quite ready for a Premier League start yet and forcing him into a game against you on Sunday. It's Sunday, isn't it? We play you.
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
Just making sure I got my days right. There's so many different kickoff times of days these days. I was actually thought it was a myth when we played Villa at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, to be honest with you.
This was supposed to be a 3 o'clock Saturday game, and then obviously because you won in your quarter final, it then got moved.
Yeah.
So
All right. So they are actually a thing, these 3 o'clock kickoffs. They still do happen.
We haven't had one since 2019, I think it is, or something silly like that. So yeah, we don't know what they are anymore. But
yeah, God. But yeah,
Crazy.
kind of touching on what Chris said there about the Europa League spots not being up for grabs for Leicester. There's still an outside chance, but I kind of agree with Chris. And it's kind of frustrating in a way because the way we had the energy for the Roma game, and obviously that was having a fitter, fresher 11, you just look at the results that we've let drop, like yourselves being similarly frustrated. If you look at how Chelsea, not Chelsea, but Man United, Arsenal, have been dropping points, and you look at that league table, West Ham most notably, like you said, suffering when they play after they play the European games, they're suffering in the league. You're just thinking, have we managed to get 4 or 5 points more from them 3 games? We could still be looking at our games in hand thinking we could do it on both fronts. But as a fan, I think now we have to kind of take the club's mantra, and our eggs are in one basket. Spurs is now a free hit. It's something I never thought I'd say about playing Spurs because it is a free hit playing Spurs. Even last game of the season, it wasn't a free hit. We was fighting for 4th, and you helped bugger that up. Thanks for that. Yeah, this time it's weird to see the Spurs game and have fans maybe looking at it in a different light of going, that's a free hit because we're more focused on Roma.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting because you've got players there who want to be playing in that semi-final, and then if you've progressed there at the final, so it'll be very interesting. A couple of comments from Simply Ace here. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for the comments. It's a big game for Spurs, but if we lose, then for me, it's very unlikely we'll get into the top 4. Team mentality is weak and takes time to recover from bad results. He also goes on to say, if Leicester take it seriously, they'll beat us, and unlike us, know how to get over the line. I mean, Sean, do you think that's an issue with the mentality here? I thought against Villa, it looked like we had a change of mentality completely under the cosh and managed to ride that out and then go and kill the game off. And then against Brighton, it was the complete opposite. I mean,
I don't think it's a mentality thing, Chris. I think it's, I guess you would call this under the category of mentality. I think it's a confidence in the formation with the current players that we have available. I think that the losing Doherty is just insane how 3 months ago, I say this quite often, but we winced at the idea of having him in the team, and now we wince at the idea of him not being in the team. Like, what a turnaround that guy's season's had. But not just for his own personal performances, but I think the relationships he built with Kulusevski very quickly, and with Højbjerg, and with Romero, all of that synergies, it bled confidence through the team. Losing him and having to put Emerson in, who, I don't like to criticize players that are in their first season that come to a place that A, are playing not in the position they were bought to play, B, don't speak the language, C, first time in the Premier League, all of the variables that you could defend his performances with. But he just, for me, unfortunately, looks like he's, a rabbit in the headlights. He's clueless. And of course, not only does that take away our confidence when we have the ball, but it also pulls people out of position when we don't have the ball. The other teams will attack down that side, and it has this kind of cascading effect of impact, negative impact on our abilities in the game. And I just think that with the Villa game, what we did differently was we had a plan B. We decided to go long. If we couldn't go through the midfield, we decided to go over the top of it, which isn't something you would usually see from a Tottenham team, to go direct like that. But since then, we haven't had a plan B. And I've been crying out on all the channels I go on for this Sunday, regardless of what Leicester side come out, regardless of how tired they are. I am desperate for us to do something different. Whether that is, tweak the formation and bring Kane deep again because he suddenly decided to stay up front. Whether that's to flip Emerson, get him out of the team altogether and go to, Kulusevski, or put Sessegnon at an inverted right back and then change Kulusevski out because you can't have 2 left-footed players on the right-hand side. Whatever, there's 8 different options we could take. You could even argue going to a back 4. I think that's the least likely of the options, and then play Emerson and Reguilon in their preferred positions at fullback. But whatever choice, whichever option he wants to take, just take one, because for the last 2 games, what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. And we can't play, we're becoming predictable. Teams know if the forward players close the channels and the midfield press, then our play from the back is slow, sloppy, and it's and it just breaks everything down. So for me, I don't think it's about mentality. Sorry, I've been on a rant here. Sorry, I'll stop now. I don't think it's about mentality so much. I think it's about confidence. And I think it's about needing us to change something, do something different, and we can talk about what those options are, I guess, as the show goes on.
With Kane, it'd be interesting to get your view. I know Tommy's view on this, speaking to him quite a lot on streams. For me, we're lacking a playmaker. Our only playmaker is our striker, and when he comes deep, everybody knows that. So Brentford did a job on him, Brighton did a job on him. Villa went and attacked us, so it gives him space. That's why I'm confident about the Liverpool game, because they'll attack us.
Yeah.
Leicester again will attack us and hopefully give them that space. Whereas those other two teams that I mentioned sat back and it was all the counter attack, but they always had that shape of blocking out that midfield to stop him coming deep. So I think Emerson will come back in the summer. It works for Levy because he's free, but that will obviously help our playmaker situation and allow Kane to stay up top. But yeah, kind of what do we do?
I don't mind
if Kane comes deep, Leicester pack out that midfield, Kane coming deep doesn't work.
Yeah.
Do we have the players to try something different? Because for me, Kane's the only one who can play as a kind of playmaker.
I think Kulusevski could come central. I even think you could make the case for Lucas Moura to come in and play in a 10 role. I think there's plenty. I don't want to see Lucas Moura on the right. He goes missing when he's on the wing, but when he's in the number 10 role, he can get the ball and drive and win free kicks and yellow cards. And if you do get an early yellow card in a team that does the press or that packs the midfield, it completely changes the game. Just like what happened to us when we played against Brighton and Bentancur got a yellow card in the first 8 minutes of the game. Like, it spoiled the entire process and the tactical strategy that we tried to implement. So I take your point that if Kane comes deep, they pack the midfield and they seem to suffocate him a little bit more. But you don't have to have a formation that is it's stale and is consistent throughout the half and then wait until half time to change things. You can have just have, if Conte puts his finger up, then we're doing formation 1. If he does that, it means we go to plan B. If he does that, it's plan C. Whether that's going long, whether that is moving into a 4 at the back, maybe 4-2-3-1, whatever it is. And there's 10 different strategies that you can use the squad we have to play. But if you are predictable, which is what we've become, and I saw Christian Eriksen's comments. I don't know if you've got them. I've got them somewhere. But he basically said, "I know Conte. I know Tottenham. I told the team what they would do. We practiced it all week, and they did exactly what we expected them to do." You've got to keep people guessing. You've got to have an ace up your sleeve, and we don't at the moment. So I'm crying out. If we see the same 3-4-3 formation on Sunday at 2:00, and it's got Emerson on the right, and the only change is whether it's Reguilon or Sessegnon on the left, I will lose my mind, Chris. I'll be so frustrated.
Yeah, Tommy, what do you think? We are completely predictable. I completely agree with Sean. And for me, that's just because our game is get Kane deep and he sprays the ball out. If teams close that off like Brentford and Brighton did, each defend against us. And from what Sean said there about Christian Eriksen, I'm surprised every team doesn't do that and pack out that midfield.
I don't even think Brentford done that, to be honest with you. I think we lost momentum in the Brighton game where Basuma exactly that. He'd done a job on Harry Kane. He took him out of the game. I don't think nobody really focused on Harry Kane in that game. Brentford were on a good run and they were the better team. They should have won, to be quite honest with you. That Tony header in the last minute, that should have, I thought that was in. I thought the Kane goal was in as well, actually. That Pele at the end, I thought that was in. So, the game could have turned out very different. I don't think, unless Conte goes to a 4, I don't see there being too many options. It changes. If you go to a 4, everything changes. Everything changes. You can put Kulusevski in a number 10. You will be playing with a number 10. You played a 4-2-3-1, so you will be naturally playing with a number 10. Or Lucas, as you say, Lucas is a number 10 now. Even when he plays on the right wing, he's a number 10. He does all his work through the centre. And sometimes, he's a bit of a headless chicken. He doesn't know what he's doing. But that's good.
Unpredictable, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, if he doesn't know what he's doing, the opposition certainly don't know what he's doing. The opposition certainly don't know what he's doing. So he can make things happen. He can. He's got a lot of detractors, Lucas. But I felt, the first half of the season, he was good, man. You can't set up against Lucas. You don't know what he's going to do. As we said, he's a bit of a bit of a loose cannon, but
he needs a bit of a free roll. He needs a bit of a free roll. I think the reason that Kulusevski's been so good on the right is that his discipline is there to go forward and track back and help out what is our weak link, or one of our weak links, in that fullback press. Lucas doesn't do that. He drifts and there's no tracking back, and then that right back is then exposed.
Yeah, I mean,
have him in a free roll, number 10.
Simply Ace puts it here. He brings up the wing back situation, and that's where we don't really have a choice now with Doherty injured. With Doherty injured,
I'll read that out for the podcast listeners. What worries me the most is our wing-backs creating nothing in our central defensive areas, with exception of Romero getting exposed. If Maddison and Vardy play, we are in big trouble. We'll come to those.
When we play against good strikers, we are in deep, deep trouble. We are. But yeah, the wing-back situation, we don't have a choice. Emerson can play right wing-back. There are a few other. You could put Bergwijn there. I want Bergwijn to play after what he's done to Leicester in the last game, 2 goals in 2 minutes. I would like Bergwijn to start, to be honest with you.
What about Sessegnon, Tommy? Would you put Sessegnon as the inverted right wing back?
Oh, I've heard this. I've heard this quite a lot. Put Sessegnon there. I don't think Sessegnon's even a left wing back. So I think we signed him as a left winger. I certainly wouldn't be putting him as a right winger. I would look at Bergwijn. He's got the same sort of build as Victor Moses, who went from right winger to right wing back, big guy. This is why I don't like Cess and Reggie even.
He's also not dreadful at getting back as well. But when Bergwijn does come on and he's had more than 3 minutes, he does get back. He does try. And
people say he's fat. People say he's fat. He's not. He's got big shoulders. He can look after himself. He can certainly look after himself. One of the biggest problems, one of the biggest issues, is one that doesn't get talked about a lot, is the defense. Even when we was on a 4-game winning run, I said, if we're gonna lose, it's gonna be down to the defense, not just the wing backs, but the centre backs. When Dyer plays, we're ultra deep, right? Which is fine when you're winning. But when you go in behind with Dyer in the team, it's very, very difficult to come back, because where he's ultra deep, the rest of the team have to be deep. The centre mids have to be deeper to collect the ball off the centre backs. The 3-pronged attack have to be deeper to collect the ball from the centre mids. So it's fine when it's 0-0 when you're winning. When we score that first goal with Dyer in the team, we can win 2, 3, 4 as we have done. But if we don't, we get these situations where there's no shot on target. We lost 1-0 to Burnley with him there. No shot on target in the last 2 games, no goals scored. We saw against Leicester, our best attacking performance of the season for me. Dyer wasn't playing. We can't get back into games with an ultra deep centre back. It's all we have right now, but this is the problem. The defence, it's not just about conceding goals. It's about what they give us in attack. And
it's the multiple touches on the ball, though, as well. If you watch the difference in the first half when Dyer got the ball, I was doing the commentary on We Are Tottenham TV, and it was mind-numbing, because it was literally just Dyer gets the ball, 2 touches, 3 touches, passes it to Romero, comes back, 3 touches, passes it to Davies, comes back, 3, 4 touches. And in the second half, in that 15-minute spell at the start of the second half, when we looked a bit busier, he went from 3, 4 touches on the ball to 1 touch pass. If Dyer gets in this mindset where, and it's not just his fault, because it's obviously the movement of the players in front of him. If they're not making the movements, then it's not easy to find a pass. But if he's taking more than 1 touch on the ball before he passes it, everything slows down. And to Tommy's point, you're right, Tommy. Like, with our system, when you play out from the back, the attacks start from Dyer generally. And so if he's taking those 1 or 2 touches before, or 2 or 3 touches before he passes the ball, nothing happens. It's so unbelievably mind-numbing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he's the deepest, so he will get more time on the ball. He will absolutely get more time on the ball, because most teams only play with 1 striker, so it's very difficult to press 3 centre-backs when they're playing 3 at the back. Dyer being the deepest, he can ping the balls about. Because he's been passing better, it's not because he's a great passer, it's because he has had a lot of time to do so. I always go in on Dyer, but it's not just him. We got fullbacks. We got fullbacks playing centre back. Davis is very good, but Davis he's been pretty good at left centre back. But he is a left centre back. Tanganga has been playing right back for us, so he's a right centre back. So they can't play in the centre. They can't play in Dyer's position. Nobody can. Davison, Sanchez, and Rodon are far too aggressive to play as the middle centre back. So is Romero, and Romero's already a right centre back. So it's like, if Golini's the only goalkeeper in the squad, say Lloris gets injured, you're going to say go. Doesn't mean he's a good goalkeeper or even an average one. He's the only one that can do. He's the only one that can do it. So the same. It's the same. It's the same in this situation. So it starts from defense. We need creativity from wing backs. We struggle. What can we change in centre mid? With Skipp injured and Winks, what can we change?
Nothing.
We can't change anything, and that's a big problem. And that's where Chris, that creativity. If Kane doesn't drop deep and give us that creativity, we're struggling. We don't have the options in centre midfield. We don't have the options at wing back. So it's hard to stay. It's hard to stay positive. I don't really see how we can change things, to be honest.
I'm also really worried about. Just quickly, I know probably move on to the Leicester stuff, but I'm really worried about James Justin. I think he's someone that it's James Justin, isn't it? James Justin, yeah. I think I watched him last night in the highlights, and I've seen him, a dozen times this season. He's not someone that you'd think of naturally when you're looking at who are the danger men in the Leicester team, but he's so dangerous when he drops in, and what he can do. I really fear for him. I fear for our midfielders and our left side when he gets on ball, he can really create some magic from deep. So.
Very good player. I just want to touch on that because the Leicester boys, I've done quite a few streams with the Leicester boys down here. And when they sold Chilwell last season, he was the replacement, basically, wasn't he? He came in as the natural replacement. And everyone were going crazy about him, like, this guy's better than Chilwell. Then he got that unfortunate injury. So he is very good. You've got Fofana back now, Vardy. I didn't see Fofana picked up another injury or something because I see him on the bench a few times.
He played phenomenal last night, to be fair to you. I mean, if you're talking in contrast to Dye just sitting there having a few touches and then making a pass. Fofana, I mean, you'd have to watch it and double take to make sure he didn't dribble it 15 yards forward. But the guy, I mean, Roma played obviously very deep, and I'm assuming Spurs won't play that deep, ready to counter-attack football. But if you give Fofana 15 yards, he'll knock the ball 20 yards forward and get onto it before the ball's even reached the mark. In fact, at one point, I was expecting him to be stood in front of the ball waiting. The guy's electric and he's so quick. He's unreal. So, I mean, you've got that fluidity throughout our defence, which is something I'm hoping that we can continue, start to really progress now because we've finally got them fit and on the field week in, week out. Touch wood, no injuries or anything, but that's something that's going to frighten a lot of teams going forward with Leicester. Our ability to play it out the back, because we were restricted when we had Vestergaard in, our Eric Dyer, if you will. It was a bit of a lump, bit of a static man, was there to hoof the ball or pass it. When we've got this free flowing thing, it won't be none of this silly pass it to the wing back, pass it to the keeper, pass it to the middleman, pass it to the keeper. None of that silly playing around at the back. We're talking about a potential back line, and especially if you've got Castagne or Ricardo on that right hand side, who's just as quick and able to go like Justin on left. You've essentially got three of the back line of four that can get Leicester into the midfield before the midfield players like Maddison, Dewsbury Hall, and Yuri are even considered involved in the game. If you know what I mean. If we're getting that ball to the halfway line with our defence, and you're worried about Barnes, Lootman, Vardy, Maddison, we're going to cause teams a lot of troubles going forward doing that over the next coming games because we just drive it out so well.
What do you guys put your struggles this season down to? So when I look at your team and your squad, obviously everyone recognises the amazing ability of your scouting network to go and find gems for relatively small sums of money, but you've got talent throughout the team. And you've got talent on the bench that can come off and do a job as well. And yet, obviously, this season you've struggled. The first half of the season, you guys were, sort of like lower mid-table. Like, what's happened? For you guys to only be a mid-table outfit this year.
We've had over 25 injuries this season.
Oh, is that what it was?
Team players.
Yeah.
We've had 9 defenders injured at some point.
Wow.
Vestergaard was mentioned by Brad earlier. He came in, and as Brad has often said, he wasn't. He was like a stopgap because Fofana got injured. hit down, Fiona.
That's what he's called after a bad performance, is it?
You can improve. I'll tell you. She's a bit like Roma players. She goes down very easily. Boom, boom. But I mean, there was times our defenders didn't know who they were going to be playing with that weekend. Brendan's team talk. Would you go to the changing room saying, right, who's fit? And depending on the number of hands that go up, you decide, oh, I can have 3 at the back, I can have 4. It's been really bad. And if we get, and I looked at a poll the other night on a show, and it was saying like who would be manager of the season. And I'm not saying that Brendan will be manager of the season, but if he gets us top 10 and put to the final of the European competition this season, he will have done with everything that's gone on. And he's never come out and blamed the injuries, but with everything that's gone on, if he does that, he's had a bloody good season.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, though, I noticed the two players that you're mentioning that you're worried about from us, Fofana and Justin. I don't see either of them playing tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Rested, you mean, for the Thursday game?
Yeah.
I think it'll be Soyuncu and it probably even Luke Thomas that would come into that game. He's not played in a while.
Wow. Well, that's good news. Okay.
Yeah.
Luke Thomas, Soyuncu, and Amati, and then Piera on the other side.
I like Soyuncu. He's a good player. I like him.
I mean,
Brad, we never. it's hard to pick a left.
He looks about 45, doesn't he? I think he's only 23 or something, isn't he? 23.
You tell him that to his face, mate.
Apparently, he gives a handshake in the intent to cause you pain. Some of the players said that he has a sadistic smirk on his face when he shakes your hand.
Yeah.
I'm half Turkish, so I might get away with it. I'm half Turkish.
I
might get away with it.
A couple of comments here before we move on. Darryl Denton regarding us being exposed at the back. We've been exposed for the last 4 years. Sometimes you've got to hold up your hands up on losses. And a few more comments here. Sorry, Sean, it's your turn this time. Beautiful people on the screen. Big up. Hi to Sean too. Bob's there. Beard's looking on point, by the way. He's also said, with all due respect, couldn't give 2 hoots what team Leicester put out. It's all about us, and if we show up, 3 much needed points are a must. That's the objective regards of lineup. And Darryl, I don't think any players playing tomorrow. I'm not sure what that means. I'm assuming that means Leicester players that were playing on Thursday. But Chris, in terms of you lining up and how you approach the game, for me, you obviously watch a lot more Leicester games than I do. But for me, looking in, it seems like Leicester don't have it in their makeup to sit back and do a job like Brentford and Brighton do, which for me gives me a bit of positivity in the hope that you'll attack us, you'll probably score, but then that will mean that Kane will be allowed to not have free reign of the midfield, but he'll have a lot more space than Brighton and Brentford afforded him. How do you think you'll approach the game? Do you think it will be a sit kind of back kind of game, or do you think it will go, this team are there for the taking, let's go score goals and win the game?
I hope not, because we never do very well if we sort of sit back and try and, if we're 1-0 up and Brendan decides, well, from the 60th minute we'll go defensive and try and hold on to the lead. Teams put 2 goals past us in the injury time. So, no, I hope it's not. I don't think, again, another player, I don't know whether Vardy will start. I mean, that was his first game yesterday since he's back from injury. He's getting on a little bit. And again, do I want to see Vardy play, 60, 70 minutes on Sunday and try and possibly pick up an injury or redo his old injury? Or do I not want to see him on the pitch at all and know that he's going to be there for next Thursday? It's the second option for me.
Would you not want him to come on for, a 20-minute cameo just to get his legs moving again and get some more fitness in his legs?
Depends how the game is going. And I think we'll know the sort of game we're going to play, I think, when we look to see whether it's going to be Daka or Inacho up front, because they're 2 completely different players and we have different styles of play depending who's playing. If we're losing 1 or 2-0, and Brad alluded to this earlier, are we desperate for this win? We're still going to be sat in probably 10th or 9th. We're not going to make a late run now for the Premier League. So it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. And it's almost like Brad said, it's almost like a free hit. You beat us 9 times out of 10 anyway. So why? Yeah, just let the game go. If we lose, we lose. And let's look ahead to next Thursday.
And how do you think
can I just say one thing? Actually, that's a very good point in terms of, I would actually rather you do play Vardy, Fofana, and James Justin, because we played West Ham a few weeks ago after they played Lyon on a Thursday, and they played their first team and they struggled. They really struggled, even like the Declan Rices and the Antonios, because they'd played 3 or 4 games before. And we played well. Don't get me wrong; it's one of our better performances over the last few months. We won 3-1, but that's like that. I'd actually rather you play those players, if I'm perfectly honest. But
I tell you who we will be
we'll
playing,
see.
and I think Brad will back me up here. KDH, Tillemans, and Maddison. He's not been dropping them, and they are looking tired. And Tillemans, again, Brad will probably back me up on this. He's not being played in his best role.
He's a brilliant player, though. Tillemans, he worries me. Maddison always scores.
Coming to Tottenham next year, isn't he?
He worries me.
Bloody hope so.
No, he's got ambition.
Nice. Zing.
Which is why he's looking to leave us. That is also a dig at Michael for that.
As I always say, if you get top 4, you've got a good chance as anybody else of getting Tillemans. If you finish 5th or 6th, I don't think you'll get him. He's leaving until the end of the season to see which teams, and it might not even be an English team. You know, he's got German options, Spanish, Italian. You've got those teams after him as well.
Why is he leaving though? Is it because he wants more money? Or
I think he's ambitious. He wants to play in the Champions League, and we at the moment can't offer him that. And I understand that totally. And if he goes, I'll say thank you very much for all you've done. But you know, it's been 12 months we've been talking over a contract. The clues are there that maybe he's not going to sign it. But he said he wants to wait till the end of the season because he wants to see who's in those Champions League places.
Yeah.
You know, Man United is supposed to be interested. He isn't going to do Man United unless they suddenly have a good run and get into the Champions League.
Well, that's not going to happen this season. I highly doubt. But I think Manchester United, you know, like Tottenham need obviously like a massive rebuild in this summer, regardless of whether we finish. It becomes easier to do the rebuild if we finish 4th versus finish 5th or 6th. But you know, we're going to have to spend, you know, 120 million of new money and probably another if we can move other players on. But I've been saying this on my channel. I did last night. I think that the rebuild is going to become exponentially harder for Tottenham for 2 major reasons. And one of them is the fact that Manchester United are going to be going through a bigger rebuild and they've got a bottomless pit of money, you know, and I think that arguably they're a bigger draw, you know.
They can also, I think, Man United attract players that we couldn't, even if they're not in the Champions League, because they're Man United. You've got the opportunity to drag a team who are lower back to the former glories where they should belong. Biggest club in the world,
and double your wages your wages.
Yeah. Whereas we can't do that. We haven't got the history and the kind of
not quite
history of that. Whereas Man United, I think, can attract all sorts of players because they're Man United.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
The one thing I do know, just looking at some stats, if you're a betting man, you want to bet on a lot of goals this weekend. So just
So Sean said it there. It's 0-0, guaranteed.
in the last 6 games that Leicester have played against Tottenham have won 4, Leicester have won 2, 0 draws, 23 goals across those 6 games, and that's going back to October 2019. 3.83 goals on average per meeting. You know,
right, that's 0-0. This is 0-0.
Yeah, great. Well done. You just jinxed the next 4 games to 0-0.
I don't think that God or fate is listening to me right now. So I think that there's probably other people talking about it that have got a bit more influence.
I mean, Brad, what do you think of that 0-0? I can't see it being 0-0. And certainly the game earlier in the season, forget what happened in the last couple of minutes, but we had double the shots that you had, and you still had 11. So it's a very, very open game.
Yeah.
And I can only assume it will be an open game again, unless you kind of change tact and go a bit more defensive, which I looking into Leicester as an outsider, I don't ever see you doing that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be afforded to be a 0-0 for 2 different reasons. Leicester, first of all, we like to be on the front foot. You know, we've another thing just to quickly add on to what you said, maybe been the dodgy part of our season where it didn't quite click is we've kind of tried to progress from that counter pressing side, which is still a part of our game, but we're now being that high tempo side. Like I said, talking about Fofana driving it to halfway line, our defence holds a high line, which, as you've seen and as you benefited from, it has caused us issues at times, and we're still tweaking that, which is nice to know that Brendan's not overhauling a plan B, but he's tweaking a plan B. But with that in mind, it just doesn't allow for us to see a 0-0, really. In fact, I think one of the commentators in our game against Villa stated that was only the 4-0 draw at the King Power in about 2 or 3 seasons. With that, I know obviously we're at your ground, but that typifies. You look at a team's home form and that normally shows you how they're going to go about their business. And we're all about trying to press the occasion, get in your face early, try and get that early goal, which we've still been fairly good at in parts of this season when we've been on a nice flow. And again, going to why it probably won't happen because of Spurs is your league position. Like you said, you're desperate for the 3 points. You're desperate to beat us. I can almost hear Kevin Keegan. I'd love it if we beat Leicester. And I think, like you said, the record's there. So cue the most boringest 0-0 ever now.
Well, do you know what? I'm a little bit more worried now. And not only that you said it, but also Tommy said it, because I was watching Tommy stream before the Brentford game, and Spurs have only drawn 3 games, or had only drawn 3 games all season. And I remember, Tommy, I actually shouted you out on my own channel, mate, for saying it after the game. Actually, on We Are Tottenham TV, I shouted you out. You called the draw. You said, it's been we haven't drawn, and Brentford haven't drawn.
It was 20 games.
20
games.
games.
Games going into that, wasn't it?
You're like,
so,
it's absolutely nailed on 0-0 draw. I remember you saying it, and I was like,
to be fair, you could probably give the same odds, and I've seen some of the ridiculous scorelines we've had in recent histories, like 6-1s, 5-6s, whatever. You probably got the same odds for a 0-0 as you have for a 7-6. Because we've had ridiculous scorelines. It's like someone just went, "Well, Leicester Tottenham." And the score will be Tottenham 7, Leicester 7. That's your game. Go watch it.
Daryl Denton's got 3 draws this weekend. United last night, which he's got right. Us and Arsenal. He's also said
Arsenal got West Ham, haven't they?
Yeah. These are the games no teams like losing, squeaky bum time. But I mean, Sean, if we are to score a goal, and against Leicester, it's usually this guy Kane. The most goals he's ever scored against Leicester, I think it's something like 17 or 18 or something silly. Do you see him banging one or more in tomorrow? I think he'll have a lot more chances than he did against the last 2 games, because, like I say, Leicester will open up. But do you see him not running the game, but having a huge say on this game?
Well, I do, providing that we are. It all depends on how Leicester set up. If Leicester take the approach that the other, pardon the insult, but other mid-table teams have done, and gone, we're going to set up to play against Tottenham, which is to suffocate the life out of the midfield, to send it, to force us to play it down our flanks where we have no confidence, etc. Then I think if we don't pivot, if they do that and we don't pivot, then I think that Harry Kane might again struggle. If we're going to score, it's going to come from Kane or Son. It will be. How that happens determines or depends, really, in my opinion, on Antonio Conte's appetite for a little bit of risk. And like I said, I'm desperate to see something different. If I see the same formation and the only change is Reguilon for Sessegnon or vice versa, but it's the same 3-4-3, I genuinely think we're going to yes, Leicester are a different outfit. Yes, Leicester probably will play a different team, a different formation, and a different, aggressive approach. I just want us to wait and see how Leicester are playing. In the first 10 minutes, if Leicester are set up to do what Brentford and Brighton have done, because they've got a somewhat second team out, because they're focusing again on the Roma game next Thursday, and they're going to play a little bit of a second string team, and therefore they'll take the draw. If they do all that, then we'll know that in the first 2 minutes. And if so, then we need to pivot. If they don't, if Leicester come out and play the way that we know Leicester should and could and can play very successfully, regardless of the team, and they're a bit more open, then I still think we can do the business with the 3-4-3. And I think Kane can either be, act as the number 9 or act as the number 10. But I think we just have to be willing to make changes, adapt, be dynamic, and have a bit more flexibility than we otherwise do at the moment. It seems like whatever the strategy has been, it's before the game, it stays that way until halftime. And then at halftime we might change things, but I think that's always a little bit too little, too late. So I think Kane will score. If we are going to score and win, it will be because of Kane and Son that do it. But how we do it will depend on the flexibility of Conte.
Yeah, what do you think, Tommy? I mean, if Kane plays well, generally Kulusevski's son make runs, and then, we get going. What Sean said there with Conte about the element of risk, I think that's what you said, or something like that. But 82 minutes against Brentford before an attacking substitution, 60 minutes, Davison Sanchez was our bloody saviour. Don't understand it. And you've got to take a chance. There's an argument, obviously, that the players on the bench aren't good enough, but they're the cards you've been dealt until the summer when you can potentially make a change. At least try something, and he didn't, which... So what do you think of tomorrow's game? We'll come to predictions at the end, but in terms of Kane, do you think he'll have a say in that game?
Oh, absolutely. He always has a say. If you give the guy time, he's unbelievable. I mean, the best, top goal scorer and assist maker last season. This season, I put a little poll out. I put on Twitter. I was like, who's the second best passer after De Bruyne? In the Premier League, and the majority of neutral fans and Spurs fans were like, he's a better passer than De Bruyne. So I was like, okay, well, pretty useless poll. His passing is incredible. You give the guy time, and he releases Kulu and Son. He just releases them almost every time. And we've got their quality as well, so they've got to be in the right position. They've got to receive the ball well and finish off their chances, which they were doing, especially Kulu. He's sort of disappeared the last two games. And that's because Kane's disappeared. So it is so key that Kane gets on the ball. And this wing back position, we keep coming back to it. We need to change it. If there's one thing we can change, it's Emerson Royal at right wing back, and we do need to do something there. Even if it is something as mad as putting Lucas there or Bergwijn, or I think it's a position we really.
Would you play Lavenier? Would you take the risk and put the young fella in, or Pascozzi?
I think it's good. I think if we weren't fighting for top four. If we were just fighting for, say, Europa League, 5th and 6th place, and we were the favourites, I'd say yes. But because it's Champions League, it's very, 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 very risky. But you can't do much worse than Emerson, can you? He's been that bad. He's been that bad. Emerson, yeah. Leicester boys, you won't know how bad this guy's been. And within the first month, I was looking at him and I thought, this guy can't defend. It doesn't matter if he can't speak English.
He couldn't pass a 5-meter ball, could he, against Brentford? Which is just, you can say confidence, you can say different position, but I mean that's just. I get upset if I do that, and I pay £5 bloody to play football. That's how bad I am, and I can play a 5-yard pass. So for him not to be able to is just unforgivable.
Every player that comes in at wing back is not going to be a natural wing back, because 90% of the teams don't play wing backs. So everyone has to adapt. Reggie's going to have to adapt to left wing back. Sessegnon's had to adapt from left winger to left wing back. The only natural one we had was Doherty, which is, I'm glad he started getting first team football because he played there for Wolves. They finished 7th twice. So he showed, didn't he? He obviously got a lot of flack earlier in the season, but he showed if you play him as wing back, we get the Wolves, Matt Doherty. But a lot of people vote him off early doors because he was, like Sean said, playing as a full back when he's a wing back. But when he's playing regularly as a wing back, we showed what happened. And like Sean said, that 3 months ago, saying we're going to be in trouble if Doherty goes out, people would have laughed at you. It's now we've got Emerson there who can't pass. Things change.
5 yards.
Things changed. I wouldn't even say 3 months ago. I'd say like 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago. Everyone was just like, this guy's the worst signing in history. I was hearing that a lot from fellow streamers, as well. I'll be honest.
Who would you
this
play
is the
on
worst
that
signing in history.
Who would you play on
I'd
that
put
right
Bergwijn there. I'd honestly, because of the Leicester thing, I'd put Bergwijn there. I honestly would put Bergwijn there. It'd be silly not to start him. But as Lavinier didn't cross my mind, to be honest with you. It didn't even cross my mind. And it's an option. We need to get youth players in somehow. And as I said, you can't do much worse than Emerson. So, I'd put him there. I'd probably put him or Bergwijn there for sure. I think Emerson needs to get his mind out of the game as well, because nobody can be this bad of a footballer. Nobody can be this bad. So he's struggling. He's struggling mentally as well. We need creativity from those wing-back positions. I'd definitely put Sessegnon in front of Reggie in front of Sessegnon as well. They're both not great, but I think Conte will want to keep Sessegnon. I do. I think going into next season, talking about Reggie going, I think Conte likes Reggie. I think he likes Reggie. I think he'll keep him about. And I would prefer to start him. We've been playing a lot of Saturday games recently, but no, Sunday. Yeah, I prefer to see Reggie.
Can you play Emerson just for this game so our right side can have a bit of a field day? Please?
Some people are saying right centre back. Some people are saying his future's right centre back. Like,
we got a couple of comments about Emerson. We got a couple of comments. Simply Ace. He's a non-league 10th division player in the Premier League. Costs us 30 million. Mark Cousins asked what Stephen Carr's up to these days.
I have to admit, guys, your Emerson Royale opinion of him is making me feel very, very harsh about my opinion on our 30 million player called Iosi Perrin. I suddenly think he's a world-class player, Chris. I don't know about you, because he sounds like he's absolutely
as well.
I'm going to clip that, Brad.
I know you will, you cheeky get, but no, I'm surprised because obviously he came with a lot of expectation, didn't he, to you guys? Has he ever got anything right since he started playing for you, or has he just really been bad since day one? Like, is he preferably a wing back in the changing rooms?
He ran pretty quickly when he was substituted off. That was quite good. I think the expectation is from the club that he came from. You hear Barcelona, you expect there's going to be an element of.
But you also heard the rumours from, I forget who it was. Was it the Barcelona director of football or someone in the someone said.
This.
Someone came out.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, when Tottenham came to us and offered 30 million for Emerson.
They're like, we
can make that happen. Yeah, you sure? Yeah, 3 million. Yeah, okay.
Get signed.
Usually
you negotiate, don't you? You always negotiate somehow, but when they saw the 25 million bid, they'll just
get it done.
Just
get her done.
He could come good. He could come good. The Premier League has history of players who were terrible first couple of seasons and then came good, but I don't see it.
I think generally speaking, like in his defence, take away the language, take away the first season, take away the fact that he's come to the Premier League from the Spanish League, all that stuff. He was bought as a right back. He was bought for a Nuno system. Right, and this is the problem that Tottenham have. And I've been talking a lot about this, and Brian Daigle's always made this point going back since I joined the community back in December, and it's something that I completely agree with him on more and more every day, is Tottenham have this, and this I think this is one of the foundational points of how he feels about Daniel Levy, is it's not that he doesn't back managers, it's that he backs managers like that are short-term with short-term vision, right? So it's like you're always so short-sighted. Nuno comes in, we go and spend money for him, and it was never going to work out. Nuno was a paper, coverer anyway, sort of covering over the cracks. And then then Conte comes in and plays a completely different formation. So we've got a team full of square pegs for round holes. And if there's any truth to the news about him going to Paris Saint-Germain, and then the natural logical replacement will be a swap deal for Pochettino, then people like Emerson might do better under a Pochettino system because he plays a back four, right? But you know what will happen is we'll go and spend 125 million quid this summer for Conte. He'll go and buy his players in. It won't be enough to satisfy him. He'll go to Paris anyway. Pochettino comes in, and then we spent 130 million pound players to play a 3-4-3 system that Pochettino won't play. And so I feel like, not to get off the topic, but people like Emerson, maybe you don't sell him until you know if Conte is going to come, until Conte is going to stay. And if he doesn't stay, then you don't go and buy a Pochettino if you've just gone and bought a bunch of players for a 3-4-3 wing-back system. You make sure that the next manager follows the same philosophy, follows the same formation, so that you can have a little bit of continuity with the players that you're signing. And it's not something you could throw at Tottenham generally. When you look at from Poch to Mourinho to Nuno and now to Conte, we flip-flop with not just the philosophy of football, but also with the formation. And so we always have a legacy of players that were bought for a previous manager that don't fit in the current manager's system. And so we blame Emerson. Yeah, sorry, mate.
There's plenty of teams like that. Manchester United, Arsenal, until it's kind of settled down. But I mean, like you say, Emerson could find his rhythm in a different manager's team, but Ryan McFarlane says he should be left at the training ground, never mind the change room. And Simply Ace, I know fullbacks, not the same position, but fullbacks still need to get forward, unless I'm wrong.
True.
It's not like going from a goalkeeper to a forward, but it is slightly different.
It's true, yeah.
But Chris, in terms of Leicester, obviously I've put these two as your particular danger men, but possibly won't be playing. But this guy as well, I think, has had a good first season, but compared to how much you paid for him. Well, you didn't pay that much, but he's young as well. And that's Daka. I'm a big fan of this guy, and he could cause us a lot of problems. I mean, what have you made of his first season with you, and where can he go from here?
He can be good. Look, we know this guy is good. He won the league at Salzburg. He scored 4 for us against Moscow in the Europa League. We know that there's a talent in there, but he's just got to be given the time. And I said this to Brad many times. You know, I've moved all around the country with my job, and it's difficult going from one town to another, settling in, making new friends, and getting on with it. These guys are coming from another country, and they've got only got that to do, but they've also got to adapt to a different style of play because the Premier League is different to most of the countries. Now, some players, they take to it like a duck to water. Fofana, you know, he was thrown in at the deep end because of defensive problems and injuries. And, you know, look at him. He's absolutely, you know, nailed it. Daka, he's just going to take a bit of time to get used to it. I mean, we're going to see, I think, over the next season, we're going to see sort of maybe Vardy's role getting a bit less and a bit less and a bit less because he's older, he's more susceptible to injuries. And Daka's time will be getting sort of bigger and bigger and bigger as he gets used to the game and the way that Brendan wants him to play. Brendan's got the faith in him. He's come out and backed him. I can see Vardy's role becoming eventually like the super sub. You know, if your back four are playing us and it's 0-0 and we've been battering you, and then with 20 minutes to go, you suddenly see Vardy's coming on. Oh, for fuck's sake, you feel like, So I personally, for me, in my opinion, I think is how it will go. So I still think he's got us a few years in him, but Daka is an exciting prospect, and I just hope he's given time because some players sort of aren't given time. I remember saying exactly the same about Musa, and then he was never played to the right position, and he went away. But no. Yeah, I like Daka.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Daka, Brad? First season.
Yeah, I actually think he's done quite well. Yeah, again, like Chris says, you know, especially in that striker role, or if you're a midfielder that's played in like number 10, you look at him as a player, and you look at his build, and you think it's the one thing you notice straight away he's going to struggle with is the build of the Premiership, the physicality of it, and he has shown that. But the one thing that's probably better for him this season is the fact that Vardy's in that stage where, you like Chris said, you're suggesting next season Vardy's game time's going to get shrunk down more, but that's allowed this season for him to flux himself in, play a few games while Vardy's been injured, get his confidence going, get his understanding of the English game there, and he can then concentrate more and hone in on developing that through the rest of the season and the off season, and then we'll see a whole different animal in what Dak is capable of, because you've seen his pace, you've seen how he's trying to adapt to the role he's been given and the instructions that Brendan's given him. I quite like him. I think one thing that Leicester fans really do suffer from, and maybe they need to go back and remember it, is our instant impact of saying we need a Jamie Vardy, we need a Jamie Vardy, we need Jamie Vardy, we need a replacement. Maybe Leicester fans need reminding that Jamie Vardy was sat on the bench in the Championship contemplating giving up football. And that's a far cry from a player who's, you know, been in the Ballon d'Or contentions, won a Golden Boot, and achieved all he's achieved individually and with a club. You know, you're talking one of the players that's going to be known as one of the greats of the Premier League strike forces. I'm not talking a top 10 or a top 20 by any means. That's a matter of opinion for everybody else to kind of debate what they think of him. But he's going to be well remembered as a very good quality Premier League striker. And we're talking about a guy, like I said, who was in the division below, sat on the bench thinking, yeah, maybe I'm not.
Instrumental in your team who won the league as well, Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
You're a massive, massive reason why you won that league.
Yeah, and even
was
then,
the same.
And Brad, he was sat next to Harry Kane as well, wasn't he, when he was
Yeah, he
thinking
was.
that?
Well, look, Harry Kane was the same.
Yeah, and if only there was a competition or maybe even a national thing where both these strikers could play together up front together and could cause mayhem. Oh well, it's not like Roy Hodgson messed that up by playing one left wing and one up front on his own. But I digress from that. But yeah, maybe Leicester fans need to maybe realise the struggles that Jamie Vardy had, the development he went through, and where and you know, he didn't just arrive at Leicester, score 30 goals, score 20 goals, score 20 goals, you know, like he has been doing recently. He had them seasons where he doubted himself and he had to, you know, Nigel Pearson infamously put his arm around him. I think it was before we were playing Blackburn, and he put his arm around him, he talked him around, and he regained his confidence. He worked on him in training.
In a headlock, because he seems to type, doesn't he?
He loves a headlock, doesn't he? He loves ostriches and headlocks, as old Nigel. But no, he put his arm around him, built his confidence, and it's something we've praised Brendan for, ironically, in comparisons with how he handled Maddison and whatnot. But he then went and played Blackburn, ironically, and scored. I think he scored a goal against Blackburn, and we know what happened since then. If you do that with Daka, and you're allowed to take the limelight off him, because the one thing that certain players have struggled with is the immediate, is he going to replace Vardy? Is he going to be good enough?
That's the way football's come, hasn't it? It's instant results now.
Instant.
Long gone are the days where someone like an Alex Ferguson gets years and years to kind of build a team and players get time to adjust to leagues. It's now instant. And simply, as I said, Vardy is very underrated. He'll leave a massive gap for Leicester to fill when he does leave. World class for me. And Chris, I know you've got to head off.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on. Before you go, a couple of things. So firstly, predictions for the game.
We're not going to win it, but I'm just being a realist here. You know, if you said to me, you know, will you take, you know, a loss against Tottenham and a win against Roma? Of course, I bloody would. You know, but so we're not going to win it. But I can't predict that you'll win it. So I'm going to have to go for a draw.
After everything that we said, that the odds for a draw will be the same as a 7-6. And then last...
but we're about due a draw. We're all about due a draw.
Yeah. And lastly, you got your own YouTube channel, Leicester Till I Die. It's in the description. But yeah, tell people a little bit about your channel.
Yeah, Leicester Till I Die TV. You'll find me on there most nights, along with the other guy in blue there, Brad, who supports me a lot. Get over there. We don't just do Leicester. I mean, we've got on Monday night, we've got two shows. One is a review of the Premier League, and one is a new show I'm doing, which is a review of the Spanish, German, Italian, and French league. So there's a lot of non-Leicester stuff in there for people as well. But yeah, if you're not done yet, please get over there, give us a sub. I'd much appreciate it. And thanks for having me on, and make sure you sub to this guy as well.
Yeah, it's a great channel, Leicester Till I Die. So make sure you go and hit the subscribe on that channel.
And I say, if anybody knows a Spurs fan who's not going to the game that wants to join me on a watch along, push them my way.
Excellent. Yeah, if you got Chris's Twitter handle there, that's in the description as well. So if you are free, Spurs fan free for a watch along, give him a message, and then if he's already got someone, then you've got a free watch along to watch as well. But yeah. Thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. And I would say good luck on Sunday. I don't mean it, but
exactly. Well, you beat me to it.
I'll say good luck for the Conference League, because it would be good to see you win that.
Can I just say, it's just in case you're wondering what that is behind me there. That's the Premier League trophy. Maybe.
Now he doesn't even want us to beat Roma now.
Outrageous! What an outrageous slur!
I was in my comments slightly, Chris. It was fantastic having you on. Take care. Thanks.
Take care, guys. All the best to you all. Stay safe. Cheers, mate. Cheers, guys.
Take it easy, man.
Right, and
what a fantastic little parting shot.
And yeah, Simply Ace has predicted Leicester will win the Conference League. But Sean, just before we get to predictions, a message on this guy. Skipp's probably going to miss the rest of the season. Huge miss. I think certainly in the Brighton and Brentford games, he's the kind of player, I think, who has the mentality going, well, the game isn't working here. I'm going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and I'm going to make it work for us. I think he's a huge miss. But and as well as Bentancur and Højbjerg have been, I think his mentality will be they have been good, but they're not as good as me. So I think Conte or whoever the manager is has got a real good three in midfield there who, if they want to play two, you've got three people fighting for it. And I mean, how big of a miss has he been and how big can he actually get?
Yeah, I mean, I know that news came out yesterday that it was confirmed, but I think we all knew a few weeks back that was the case. So it's not a surprise. The kid is, it's great to see he signed a new contract as well. I think he was only earning £16,000 a week, which to us is all, I'm sure, probably.
I mean, that would do me. If anyone's watching and wants to give me 16,000 a week,
I wouldn't be happy with that.
If anyone's got to go and spare and just wants to give it away, then I'm up to 16,000.
Well, I'm sure that, like I say, to all of us, that's mind blowing money. But to a footballer, that's an incredible, incredibly low number for someone who's proven to be a Premiership level standard. It's great to see him getting a new contract, signed on for the next 5 or 6 years. I think next season he has, as long as he gets his injury, sorted out. And it's a weird one because the injury wasn't something.
He got an infection, didn't he?
Yeah,
which was after the injury. But yeah,
and then something else has happened. But I just generally think his ceiling is far higher than someone like, say, Højbjerg. I love Højbjerg. This is not a slight on him, but I think Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is we know what we can get from Pierre, and it's usually good enough. He's a great player, a great servant of the team. But I think I don't think we're ever really going to be surprised and go, wow, I didn't see Højbjerg kicking on to this next level next season. Whereas I think with Skipp, the ceiling is, way higher. And I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he's going to be a real class long-term servant for the club with, the sky's the limit for him. So. Yeah.
So you can adapt to player, can't you? At 21 years old, you can adapt to player. It's as simple as that.
Skipp is done for sure. Bobby K says, at least for the season, possibly some pre-season. Shame our medical team is worse than our scouting department. I mean, where can Skipp get to, Tommy, for you?
Oh, I rate this guy so highly. I mean, obviously, he was massively influential in Norwich getting promoted last season. I think that's one of the reasons they've done so badly this season. They replaced him with Gilmore, who was supposed to be fantastic on loan from Chelsea. Just hasn't worked, has it? I mean, they lost Buendia as well. But I think he was huge in their promotion push last season. He only missed 1 game or 2 games, something like that. So, he was instrumental in that. And when I say, I don't want to go, but I'm just going to talk about him briefly. I'm just going to mention him briefly. But when I watch Emerson, I see nothing. There was no potential there. You look at him and you think, there's nothing here. There's no trait here where I think this guy potentially there's nothing. And then with Skipp, there's everything. I see him grow in the first month, even through games. That first game against Man City,
he was terrible for the first 15 minutes, wasn't he? And then he dragged himself into that game.
I was looking back over the game. I used to on a Monday. I don't do it now, but I was going through the game and I was taking a few screenshots and seeing where maybe we went wrong and where we got things right. And yeah, he could have given away 3 penalties in the first 15 minutes, but he didn't go hiding. He did not go hiding. He carried on. He wanted the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. We went on to win the match. It was phenomenal. It was fantastic for the rest of the first half and for the second half. And it's the same over the season. Just developed first half of the season. Every game's just developing. And he certainly can, I agree, can offer more than Højbjerg and Bentancur. I think he offers more now in terms of on attacking side. On the right wing. Christmas, I saw him on the right wing. Yeah.
He offers more now injured than there. Exactly.
Probably. But what I'm worried about is the injury. As soon as I heard it was one of these weird ones. It's one of these really weird ones that you don't really hear about. And then you heard the infection. You're like, he's out for the season. As soon as you saw the infection 6 weeks ago, you'd be silly not to predict that he'd be out for the season. And that's exactly what's happened. Very odd time to give him a new contract, I have to say. He absolutely needs the contract, but we do things at odd times. We really do.
They must know that he's going to be okay, because if there was any element of doubt, like, is he going to be with the player that?
They thought Doherty was going to be okay. They thought Doherty was going to be okay 3 times in the same game, and that didn't work out, did it? They probably aggravated it even more. So the medical team, as Bobby K says, is not good. Our medical team is not good.
He definitely needs a bit of a definitely needs a bit of a.
But do you know how much he's on? Because you said he was on 6. I wasn't even aware he was on 16 grand.
He was on
George.
16.
Do you know how much he's on? Do you know how much he's on
I think
now?
50k, I think.
I heard 40, but yeah, somewhere between. I think basically
That's
trebled his money.
terrible. If he's only on 40k, he's on less than Winks still. Because but
I'm guessing it's probably got a bunch of performance bonuses. I'm sure it's got all those things in it. You know, I've got a really good friend of. Yeah, so not to get off the topic, but
a yearly wage rise. He could have a yearly wage.
Yeah,
rise
yearly wage rise and performances, and of course they'll review it. But I actually, it's can be off topic. I've got a guy coming on my channel, a good friend of mine, is a Liverpool fan, and I wanted because he's massively mad about Liverpool as much as we are about Spurs or Brad is about Leicester. But I've got him to come on to explain to me how Liverpool can because they've got such a strict wage structure. And yet they can still find a way to afford and convince people like maybe Salah to stay, but like likes of Mane and stuff. And it's all around performance, but it's all around like Mane might only get paid 120 grand a week, 150 grand a week, but every time he bags a goal, he gets paid 30 grand. And I don't know why Tottenham don't like shift our structure towards that, like incentivize more. I think
we do though, don't we? But Liverpool are similar to United. They're such a huge club; they can attract. Like you look at Diaz, for example, he's already said, hasn't he? Tottenham could have offered me whatever. If Liverpool are interested, I want to go to Liverpool. So
yeah, of course.
Liverpool could have offered less than us.
Still would have gone
he
there.
wants to go to Liverpool, and that's because of the pull of Liverpool. So I can only assume we've got performance bonuses as well.
I think Skipp certainly would have it. He'd get his 45 grand, and then every year he'll go up a little bit if he performs. If he plays 20 games, he'll get up to 50.
Every player will have. Every player will have, but not to the degree that Liverpool have, by the sounds of things. Yeah. Which is certainly worth looking at. It's certainly worth looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, a few comments here. Bobby K, a couple from him. Wing backs, midfield, 2 priorities over summer, which means we will sign 2 wingers and a 21-year-old player for the future. We don't need to get into the transfer window. I mean, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Also goes to say, Tommy, keep the faith. We will hire the cheapest medical professionals we can next season, so hurt players will only play 40 minutes extra minutes, and not 60. And Simply Ace, I agree with Tommy. We'll give out contracts at strange times. Let's hope Skipp returns in full health. He's not limited, as some players don't return the same. We won't know that until next season, but let's move on to the predictions. So, Brad, Chris was very positive in saying that Leicester will not win. What are your predictions for the game? Score predictions, how it will pan out. I'm a coward. I can't give score predictions. Can't tempt too much fate. So I'll just say that I think Spurs will win because I think the game will be open. But how do you see?
You did that same ploy on my channel when I met you in outside the number 8.
Oh, he's done it for a year, mate. I've known Chris for a year. He's done it for a year.
Well, unlike Tottenham, then I'm consistent. Brad, predictions for the game?
I think it'll be as per it normally is when these two sides meet. I think it'll be entertaining. I think there'll be a lot of energy and a lot of attempts towards a goal. Who knows? Spurs might even get one on target this week. Parting
shots. What's going on?
Firing shots, which is probably more than we've fired over recent games as well. And so, to be fair, so
very good. Very good.
But no, all joking aside, I do see goals in the game for both sides. Our record away from home against you guys isn't entirely brilliant. We've picked up more wins than we usually have over you. We normally have fighty games. I think if you look at our history throughout, especially the Premier League eras in the 90s and now, we actually do quite well against each other, don't we? We kind of like two colliding forces. We
generally close. It's never usually like a 4-0 or an absolute thumping. They're generally quite close and high scoring, and both teams scoring generally.
Yeah, there's a part of me that's still not forgiving you and is still bitter about what happened at the King Power. So I kind of want to say that Vardy bangs in a 96-minute winner against you, and we get level on the 90th minute. But honestly, I think Brendan's management for the game and the way he'll set the players up has us going for, because you'll have players out there that we hope sneak in the back door of that lineup for the Roma game. Obviously, if they can perform really well, there'll be no reason you won't consider them. But you'd be thinking sort of maybe how, and I know you guys don't know this because you've not been in it since the start of the season, but when you prepare for a European game, you kind of take the worst case scenario. And Leicester maybe will go Leicester will maybe go into this looking at a worst case scenario, going, I wish I was that accurate with firing arrows, mate.
If we batter you on Sunday after all this, you're coming back on this channel.
Yeah, I am.
I'm coming to your channel.
With my head down.
Your channel, Brad.
We want him back on. I'm not sure he'll agree.
I'm going to come and find you on full-time focus. Let you know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We know it's in Manchester, and we know that's in Manchester.
Let me just change that name. Let me just change that at so you get the wrong account.
Predicted 2-0 to Leicester.
Are you related to Scotty M? Simply, you related to Scotty M?
That is so bad.
There you go.
Yeah, Sean, predictions.
Score predictions. I think Spurs are going to edge it. I'm going to go 3-2. I'm going to go for a happy game that we kind of go, well, we lost, but we didn't get battered. All right, now we go and focus on Roma. I'd take that.
Yeah, we would as well. Sean,
yeah, I think that the Roma game on Thursday is going to be, in the back of their mind. So I feel like I don't think Leicester are going to put in maybe the crunching tackles that they would otherwise do. No one wants to get sent off, or not that would make a difference, but no one wants to get injured or anything like that. So I just think Leicester are going to be a little bit like maybe distracted, and so I still think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think you'll probably see, 4 goals or more. I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham, but I think it'll be closer than the scoreline looks. But I do think Tottenham are going to get back on winning ways, and I hope that Leicester come and play their football rather than setting up to play against Tottenham. I hope they just focus on themselves, and if they do, then I think Tottenham will have the upper hand on the day. But I do think it'll be one of those cracking. I think it'll be a cracking game. I just hope it's 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah, what do you think, Tommy? Predictions? I think, like I've said, Leicester will come and try and attack us, and I think that will open the game up for Kane, Son, Kulu to do their stuff.
Well, when we play, big teams, I can sometimes predict a draw when we play big teams.
He's getting his arrow ready. He's getting back to a loose.
You can argue. Yeah, you can argue they're not even good. You can argue Leicester are not even good. So I'm certainly gonna predict it. Once, let's face it. I like Leicester, but let's face it. When Vardy retires and Tielemans comes to Spurs, I mean, you're relegation fodder.
This guy's got jokes for Tielemans to Spurs.
You're relegation fodder. You're relegation fodder. After that.
It's not even lunchtime on Friday, and the banter's out in full form.
Steve Bruce shows up in 23, 24. Man.
This is
Roy Hodgson comes out of retirement to save Leicester from relegation.
85. How old is Rodgers now? Like, seriously.
We're going to have to fix that, mate, when it all falls apart. I mean, this is big toil from the only thing that I mean, let me just remind you, Tommy, right? You can't get a trophy for winning the North London derby. No matter how many times you send that request, your trophy cabinet's still going to be collecting dust.
I like Leicester. I like Leicester City. I do like Leicester City.
Take a drive down to Leicester and ask for a stadium tour, mate. You'll get to see all the silverware that you can't get. I mean,
yeah, I do like Leicester. But it's inevitable. And time will tell when you start going down the Bolton route. It's just inevitable. 100%. So just take advantage
Leicester
of
had
it
their
now.
little peak. They came out of nowhere. They had their peak, and now they're on the serious decline. And the Conference League is the last chance to win.
Do that when you sold? Didn't you guys have your peak when you had Bale and then sold him, replacing with Saldana?
The next trophy you will compete for is the FA Vans Trophy, Brad.
And we still won it before you had
Vanarama. Yeah.
All joking aside, Bobby K says 2-1 Spurs, Kane's son, Vardy with the consolation. So, Tommy.
I love you guys, really. It's all fun.
I'm gonna predict. I'm gonna go with. As I said, they're not a good club. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna go with 2-1 Spurs. I think whoever wins. The other keeps a clean sheet. So it'll either be.
You should predict your Spurs to win.
It'll either be 0-0 because that's what happens when Dyer plays. It was different. Dyer didn't play in the Leicester game in a back three. That was an exciting game. It's not exciting when Dyer plays.
It is amazing that you signed a player to spell your own team name, Dyer.
So I think it'll be. I think it'll be at least 2-0. 2-0. It might be 2-0 Spurs, maybe 3-0. Leicester could do the same to us. They could beat us 1-0, 2-0. But I'm going on the Spurs side, obviously, and I'll go. Do you know what? I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0, 2 or 3-0, and Kane will get back scoring. It's been 4 games now. We need him back scoring.
Yeah.
Bob needs a little chance, a little motivation to win his bet, because he put a tenner on Kane being top goal scorer over Salah.
Salah will be
So yeah.
I think both teams will score, but as long as we win, I couldn't really care less.
Make a prediction, Chris.
Both teams will not score. I'll put my money on that. Both teams will not score.
View from the South Stand, 1-1, Kane and Barnes. But yeah, pretty much it. Let's just hope we win.
Great banter, though. I love the banter. It's great fun.
Absolutely great. You'll have to come on Monday, Brad, if you're free. Chris as well, if he's free. But we'll come to that a bit later. I've got a work meeting in 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. But yeah. Thanks to Chris, Leicester Till I Die TV. Make sure you check that out for coming on. Thanks to everyone in the comments as well. Please hit the like before you go, and a subscribe really helps. And yeah, all of these 3 guys got channels themselves. They're in the description, but we'll go through them. So Spurs Talk Show, Sean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a new channel. I've been going for since December. I'm at 960 subscribers, so I'm 40 away from the magical number of 1,000. So if anyone who's watching hasn't already, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button on my channel. There's two different types of content. One is I take my dog for a walk every day around the farmland around me and talk about whatever's going on in the news that day. And then 2 or 3 times a week I do panel shows like this where we just talk about previews, reviews, and we try and keep it lighthearted. Play some games, and it's usually quite banterful. And not so serious. But Spurs Talk Show is where you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Excellent. Make sure you check that out. Tommy is the Hotspur Hood, where we are on Mondays. Tell us a bit about that, Tommy.
Yes, basically the Chris takeover on a Monday. I just want to say thanks ever so much for having me, and hit that like, hit that subscribe here, and Let's Talk Tottenham. And Marlon's in the chat as well. He's the other guy that hosts on my channel, View from the South Stand. So yeah, Marlon does one-on-one interviews, not straight after the game. He gives himself a little bit of time to get ready. So about 4 or 5 hours after the game. So Leicester will probably be about 7, 8 o'clock when we beat him. He'll be doing his one-on-one interviews there. So make sure you watch Marlon, because it's a little bit different. One-on-one interviews, four in the hour, different fans. So it's a little bit funky. And as I said, of course, Chris on a Monday. Tonight I have a preview. I have my own preview. 9:15, I think we're going to go. We've got Brian Daigle and a few others. So make sure you check in for that if you're available. So yes, come on, you Spurs. We're going to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brad, you got a matter of opinion? Is that the name of your channel?
Yeah, it is. It's a new channel that I've started. You'll be able to find the link for it on my Twitter, which is @fulltimefocus. I've got an episode coming out next week. I'll be recording it on Wednesday. It's called. We're discussing the idea of when or should women now be considered for men's football sides jobs when they're available and that. So it's an interesting topic that we're going to be talking about. Like I said, it's on my Twitter account if you want to go link to it. I haven't got these 400, 500 or 1,000 subscribers like you wonderful guys have. I've only got 77. So if there's 3 people out there that want to take pity on us or just want to come and listen to a guy that knows what it's like to hold silverware, get me up to 80 subscribers would be just brilliant. But yeah, just check it out. The links obviously will be. Thank you very much for having me on and saying you'd put it in the description and down below. But yeah, if you just follow me on Twitter, send me a follow request. The link is there to give it a click and give it a listen to. And again, thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. A pleasure to all of you. And I just hope you are preparing for the worst of losing the game.
Yeah, I'm also preparing. It's ironic.
Everyone's in. It's only since Chris left.
Yeah, I know. I'll get bullied and abused when Chris isn't there. But I think it's ironic. It's very ironic that you have a YouTube channel walking your dog when it's surprising because Tottenham fans are holding on to a lead. It's a very different channel.
I'm going to have to wrap it up. Now.
Very good. Says the man who was 2-1 up in 94 minutes.
Thanks so much to Sean, Tommy, Brad, and Chris as well. Make sure you check out all the channels that are in the description. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe, and then catch us 7:30 UK time in PM on Tommy's channel. But until next time, let's hope we can beat Leicester, get ourselves back in the top 4. Until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Very good.
Thank you so much for watching, and to everybody who joined in the live chat. Before you go, please leave a like, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's all free and you'll be notified when we go live. Anyone who missed the live stream can still watch the replay on YouTube, and any comments, questions or suggestions on the comments there. For anyone listening to the audio only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that podcast, you get that wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, go to our Twitter or Instagram page on the screen. We'll be back on Monday on the Hotspur Hood YouTube channel. Give them a subscribe. We're there at 7:30 PM UK time. And we're on this channel, Let's Talk Tottenham, 12:30 PM UK time again on Friday.